Before I hand over to Paul for the software demo, I have a very quick intro to NetDocuments and the new email management solution. Early last year, my company, XRM Industry Solutions, became a NetDocuments business services partner. We did this because we saw NetDocs particularly with CRM, time and billing and project management. This was further recognised by Microsoft themselves late last year as it formed a strategic partnership with NetDocs to deliver the most innovative, integrated and modern document and email management for the legal and related professional services markets. In September last year, NetDocuments announced that it had signed 600 new customers in the previous 18 months, now supporting over 1,800 law firms and companies, 300,000 plus users, and 2.2 billion plus documents under management. And this record growth really recognises, I think, that security and usability can really only be achieved with a native cloud application like NetDocs, and customers are coming, you know, not just because of the huge experience and expertise in document management, but because of the inherent native cloud security, the user experience, of course, that comes back to ease of use, mobility and productivity, and the simplicity really with which we're able to achieve cloud conversion and adoption. In late 2014, NetDocuments acquired Decisive Email from Recommind, and after significant redevelopment, there are now 16 of those email management projects occurring, 3 here in Australia, and they are supporting over 15,000 users. So you do the math there, and you work out that there's probably about 1,000 email users per. As a NetDocuments business services partner, we're the local implementation from project management to content migration and train the trainer. Importantly, we also offer the ongoing support and best practice guidance through a unique program we call ND Assist with a national free call number support line. So I guess the first question to ask here is, well, why bother with email management? A few stats here, notably that the average business email user sends and receives 120 messages per day. Also worth noting, firms have no policy for deleting or purging emails left in inboxes. And of course that does lead to hugely unmanageable email folders and slow Outlook and PC performance. It also contributes, we think, to the 20% of every working day that gets wasted searching for information. Managing large email inboxes is their #1 email challenge. So really getting control over email management is incredibly important, and it's important for not just information governance but e-discovery as well. where was in a few minutes is by automating the filing and categorization of emails based on predictive technology. The end result is seamless integration with Outlook, with auto filing, storage, and the important ability to search and retrieve on email communications on demand. So really there's no more wasting time looking for information. So it's the familiar Outlook interface that we know and love. It's ease of use. It's the ability to learn the solution quickly with compliance and increase. It's all about getting home on time. So what I'd now like to do is to introduce, for the software demonstration, Paul Wyatt, the NetDocuments Regional Manager for Asia Pacific.
Okay, thank you, David. I'm just checking that you can hear me okay. Now we've just switched over users.
Yep, all good.
Great stuff. Okay, and thanks for everybody that's joined the webinar today, and thanks David for the intro. As David mentioned, we've got a fairly short session today. We're running probably about 20-25 minutes for the dem, and then a section at the end to cover any questions that may arise. So what I'd like to do is start by literally launching straight in, and I'm going to share my screen with you all, and you should be able to see now my NetDocuments screen. You should be able to see the mountains, which are the there we go, the mountains in Utah looking out of our office window. So it's not a bad view, although it is a little bit colder. This very quick tour today, and we'll be showing you around the NetDocuments interface and showing you why, as David said, we're getting lots and lots of users wanting to take the NetDocuments application and do some pretty funky cool stuff with NetDocuments. So if you bear with me just 1 second, I'm just going to have to load up Outlook from here. So if you could just bear with me one moment. Okay, so you should now be able to see, just check, can you see my NetDocuments Outlook interface?
Not yet, Paul. Oh, there we go. Yes. Okay,
so we're good to go. Okay, great stuff. Okay, let's go. So first things first, I mentioned it's an Outlook interface. So why have we designed it in this way? Well, whenever you put a piece of software out there for people to use, it's very important that people can pick up a product and start to use it quickly, that it's familiar, that it's non-invasive. And really that decision was made a number of years ago when we first started writing the code for this particular product. And I'm running today on Outlook 2010. If, however, you're running on a newer version of Outlook, Outlook 2013, Office 365, then you have no problems. We have full support for those versions of the Microsoft Outlook product. And just to give you a quick view and a navigation around my Outlook view, because you will see that there are 1 or 2 subtle differences to what you would see with your Outlook view. So just to sort of highlight these, and then we'll move in and start showing you how we go about finding email and filing email, etc. You'll notice that the top of the screen essentially is the screen that you would see in Outlook. You can search your inbox. You've got your inbox there with your various items showing who it's from, subject line, received, however you've got it set. And I've got my reading pane set on the right-hand side. But if we move down to the, imagine we draw a line across the screen and we move to the bottom half of the screen, what you will see on the left-hand side is an area called My Folders and Site Folders. And this is where we've effectively embedded matters and projects that you're working on, projects and matters that are within the whole organization, within the whole firm, or I can select certain items and simply by going right mouse click I can add them to my folders. So these are my favorites. So you'll see within here I've got an AGG insurance client and I've got a number of matters for that particular client, and I'm going to come on to these in more detail as we move through the demonstration. But all you need to remember at this stage is that your Outlook folder set continues to reside at the top of the screen, and then we're sharing that now with my matter folders, which are actually matters that are sat in the cloud. They're simply links back to those workspaces. We also have a search NetDocuments field at the bottom of the screen, and again I'm going to come on to that a little bit later in the day. All of our inboxes, or within all of our areas within Outlook. And its information as requested. And there's a couple of subtle differences that you'll notice in my inbox. First of all, when I look at that particular email or highlight that email, you'll notice that down here I have this predictive filing pane, which is currently bound in a green line. That indicates that this particular item has been filed, and it's been filed in this particular. So there's my breadcrumb of where it's that to a filed column within Microsoft Outlook. So you'll see not only is it bound in green and ticked, but we've also got a tick box at the side of this particular email in my inbox. But it gets better than that. Imagine you've received an email, and that email has not only come into you, but has come into a number of your colleagues within the firm. If you decide to file that email using NetDocuments email, not only does it bind that box, that predictive filing box in green, and tick the box in your inbox, but it also ticks the box in your colleagues' inboxes to show that somebody else has filed that email. It's a global filing indicator. If I move down an item on here, I want you to just cast your eye down to that bottom right hand side where I've got my filing pane, and you'll see this particular email that's currently highlighted has been filed against this particular matter. If I move down to a different one, however, you'll notice that this one has a different ranking and relevance on the second item. If I move down to another one, you'll see I've got higher rankings, and this particular email you'll notice is ticked in two locations. It's been filed to two different matters. What's important here is that when we allow you to file mail to multiple matters, we deduplicate that mail. In other words, we save it once within the system, but we create two links between that object and the matters to which you've saved it. Let's just move to one of these other mails that doesn't have a tick box at the side of it, and what you will see this time is that the suggested filing location is bound in red. That indicates that this email has not yet been filed. But it's giving me a couple of filing locations along with a ranking, and it's currently saying, I think that this email would probably have the best fit filed at a 41% ranking in this particular area. So how does the system work out and calculate that percentage and where it believes the email should be filed. But what it does, it's actually looking at a pattern of all people within your firm that have filed emails similar to this one. And the algorithm in the background is looking at the to, the from, the CC, the description, and even the content of that email, and is making an informed decision and prediction as to where it feels it would be best filed. But the important thing is it's looking at everybody's filing pattern for each, calculates where it thinks it should reside. Now, there will be instances, however, where the system may throw up a couple of suggested filing locations, as in this particular one, where I've got a 41% hit and then a slightly lower 34% rank. But maybe what I know on reading that email is that it doesn't actually reside in either of those folders. It needs to be attached to another matter. So what you'll see under here is that I've got enter words to filter and select folders. And it now gives me a tree view, and it's looking at other matters where it's got a lower hit or where it feels it potentially may have, a good filing location. And I can go in here, view the tree, or I can enter further words and start to forward type. And if I was to say, for example, just the word fund, it will find a matter, Fireman's Fund Insurance Company. It's currently a very low ranking based on the algorithm, but I happen to know that's exactly where I want to file this email. So I can select that particular location, and it's now bound the box in green. It said, yep, I'm going to file it away, and that email has now been filed in the background, and you'll see that the dinner 4/5 now has a filing indicator, not only in my inbox, but on anybody else's inbox that was party to that email. Okay, so that's really a very quick summary as to, I guess, how the system calculates where it feels that email should be filed. So what I want to do now is just go one stage on, and I want to show you a couple of methods of being able to not only take items from the inbox and use the selected filing pane, but what happens when I start to send new emails from the system? How does the system then suggest where I should file an email? So I'm going to move on to that area straight away. If I go to my new email button up here and I click new email, I've got the functionality that you would expect within Outlook. I can start to forward type, I can select an email address, and I can say, here is my demo email for the webinar. Down here, the system is then providing me with a selection of predictive filing locations. So exactly what you saw embedded into the inbox, we now embed this technology into the actual email. Now at the moment we've only got one item that is being suggested because it doesn't really know at this stage which particular matter this email needs to be recorded against. I'm actually just going to mark it for this particular one. Could be many. I click on send and I send that email. I just send it to myself, and that should in just a moment appear in my inbox. And hopefully this is making sense to everybody in terms of what we're showing so far. What I also want to show you is not only how you save those emails from out of your inbox and how you then create a new email and have that saved dynamically into a folder, but also there will be instances where you receive an email and that email will contain attachments. So what about managing those attachments? How do we manage those? How do we file those within the system? Well, what you'll see filing pane, I've got a number of other buttons and drop downs, and one of them is this attachment folder here. And by clicking on this attachment button, here are my filing options. I can file the message and the attachments into a given location. I may, however, want to file the message without the attachments, or maybe I just want to file the attachments in their own right. So I can now say, I just want to file selected attachments. I'd like to select this particular attachment, and I would like to file it in a particular location. So we've got some very, very attached, and apply that to one or more matters using that attachments button. Something else that we can do is whenever we are sending emails between certain parties, some emails may be of a pretty sensitive nature. So if I've got this email that's just been received in my inbox and I want to save it against a matter, but I may determine that this is an email that I would just like to lock down between me and the sender, you'll see down at the bottom I've got a little padlock, and if I clicked the locked padlock here, the padlock has locked up. When that email is saved against the matter, it will only be accessible in searches and will only be displayed in a view by me and the recipient or sender, because it's locked down for a security aspect purely to us two parties. There are other ways that you can get email into the system, and one of those ways is what we call folder mapping. And what now, I think it's fair to say that everybody that's on the call will have a series of folders. And I've got some examples down here, and I maybe want to pick up one of my emails and I want to drag and drop it into an area. So I might say I've got my Sydney office, I'd like to drag and drop an email into that particular area. And that's fine, you can continue to do that, that's how you operate. But because that's a way of working that many people are comfortable with, we've extended the integration between NetDocuments email and Outlook to allow you to essentially map folders that is matter related or non-matter related sat in the cloud. And it means that you can simply drag and drop email into a folder in the normal way, but in the background it will file it straight into the cloud into a group folder that you are then sharing with your colleagues. So you're not creating these folders within your own structure that are just silos of information. You're drag and dropping it in the way that you used to and the way that you like, but most importantly, you're starting to collaborate and share that content with your colleagues. So another very useful function. If you do want to go in and I've got my tasks, for example, here, just as an example. If you right mouse on any of the folders that you've created, you'll see that down at the bottom we have a folder mapping import tool. And you simply click on there and it will talk you through a wizard and let you map that folder with a list of folders that appear in the cloud, and they are displayed in the same way that you're looking at folders down here on the left hand side. So that's pretty much the interface, probably explained in a very high level how predictive filing works, how you go about filing items into these folders. So what about items that you've already filed against matters? How do you find them? How does that display within NetDocuments? Mentioned the split in the screen. I'm going to go down to the left hand side where I have my folders, and on my AGG insurance client I've got a dozen or so matters, and one of them at the bottom here is my Vinnie's Bar and Grill. So if I click a view of all items, all emails that have been saved against that matter, along with a view pane, and on the right hand side a pretty extensive summary of how that information is faceted. So I'm just going to go back one area. The first thing to mention is when I went and said I want to look at content that I've already saved, show me that content, what it's doing is it's displaying all of those results and the pane and my facets, my filters within Outlook. It doesn't take me into a different environment. It keeps me in that non-invasive environment that I'm used to operating in. So here is a list of all those emails relating to Vinnie's Bar and Grill. What you will see here on the right-hand side beyond the viewing pane is that I have a summary. I've got a very quick snapshot view that although I have 20 items that have been filed against this matter, here is a breakdown of those items. 6 of them were filed in 2016, 11 in 2001, 2 of them have actually been filed in 2000. But I can drill down further and say, just show me those emails that were filed in 2016. Also, take that another level on and show me those emails that were filed in 2016 by a date of January the 27th. And I can start to build up and nest these various filters. Results returned on just emails where I've got an attachment that may be an attachment type of an Excel spreadsheet. What we're also showing here in the bottom is a list of keywords that the algorithm has calculated as part of that upload process. So here I've got center, data expansion, update, and promised, and docs. These are keywords that have been extracted out of these emails and are used to locate that email when I come to do a search and use my filters. And as I go up the filter tree, you will see that that list of hits, of keywords that it's filtering on, has been extended onto the system. So that really is how you would view content that currently resides within that area of my folders. So we've pretty much covered at that high level, as I say, the capabilities to look at the inbox, the capability to map folders, that capability to be able to search on content both inside a matter. But what happens if I want to go and search for content and I don't know which matter it resides in? In the same way that at the moment when you're sat in your inbox, you can go up here and you can search your inbox. I mentioned that we have an enterprise search capability that allows us to search across all content that has been saved across all matters. And to invoke that, all I've got to do is click in the Search NetDocuments box at the bottom of the screen. And when I click in here, the system has a series of search keywords. And it's going to prompt me so I can build up my search string. I can search on certain items. I may want to search just or specifically filed by an individual on or between certain dates. If I just say I just want to search on all items there, it then allows me to push that search further down the tree and say items within a specific folder or project, or maybe items after a date, and it's starting to build up that search profile for me so I can very easily find the content that I'm looking for. So some pretty powerful tools that we have in play. And this is version 4.1 of our product, which has just been released to market. We are actually doing some out in very, very shortly. We're talking weeks rather than months here. We were also going to be providing the capability for you to file email that you receive on your iPhone or iPad or your Android device. So from your inbox, you will be able to swipe an item and have the system, have NetDocuments navigate you through your mobile so you can file that email whilst you're on the run straight into a matter or a project, straight into the NetDocuments cloud. And that's the next release, which is currently in test and QA and will be made available the end of what I wanted to show you today, and I'm conscious that we're bang on 2:30, so we're happy to keep the line open if anybody has any specific questions that they'd like of the webinar.
You've done a great job, Paul. There are no questions, so obviously you have answered everything anybody needed to know. But no, that's really been great. Aware of course, the time that we have. Please, if anybody does have any questions later on, email us. I will get the recording out to folks and a copy of the covering slide deck. But thank you again for joining us today, and look forward to speaking again soon. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your days. Thank you.